Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game from Scratch, and today we are checking out ArmorPaint. I'm going to call it Armory Paint over and over and over again because it is based on the Armory game engine built on hacks and the Blender platform. It's an incredibly interesting looking engine, and its development kind of got put a little bit on the back burner because it's being used to develop ArmorPaint. And ArmorPaint kind of became more and more interesting to the population simply because its direct competitor, Substance Painter, was bought by Adobe, which a lot of people aren't really keen on, including myself. So we're going to look at today at ArmorPaint and decide if this guy is a good replacement for Substance Painter. The truth of the matter is, it's not even close to equal in feature parity. It's definitely under development. This is a one-man project versus a team of people, but it's shockingly capable in what it can do. So first off, let's take a look at Armory Paint itself. We are on the webpage. If you want to download it, you will find out that you actually have to build it from code or buy it for €16. So it's very cheap. It's like literally what is that? About 5% of the cost of Substance Painter. So here you can see the webpage. It's available at armorpaint.org. If you're interested in building it yourself, you don't want to spend any money, I just put up a video showing you that process as well. We're also here because ArmorPaint 0.7 was just released. I'm not going to focus on this too much. I will link to this down below. A bunch of plugins were just added in, giving you new import capabilities. You can now import in PSD files, bitmap, GIF formats, single material export, blend modes were improved, a bunch of new features across the board. So basically, just incremental across the board improvements. Plus, we got some cool beta features here, such as Unreal and Unity Engine Live preview features, again, in preview form. So not quite ready for prime time, but make a change in ArmorPaint, it will be updated in one of those two game engines. So some really cool stuff going on here. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, it is built on top of the Armory engine, and unfortunately, the Armory engine has kind of suffered for ArmorPaint. It's the same developer behind the two. He can only split his resources so many ways. But if you've been wondering why I haven't done any updates on Armory engine, well, it has been being improved. It hasn't gotten formal releases, so there's nothing I can really do news on. Hopefully that changes in the future so I can go back to doing some new content on Armory engine, but that is the technology ultimately running ArmorPaint. I did do a multi-part tutorial on that if you want to check out Armory engine. And then, as I mentioned earlier on, I did a video on getting ArmorPaint built. So basically, it's an open source project, but you have to build it yourself if you want binaries, or you can buy them for, like I said, €16. If you want to build it yourself, these instructions walk you through building for Visual Studio, and the end result is the binaries I am using in this particular case. And then finally, in order to really make ArmorPaint shine, you need to have some textures to work with, specifically PBR workflow-based textures. I have this site up on DevGame for free game development, available at devga.me/free. And what you really want to go to is 3D graphic resources. And ultimately, if you scroll to the bottom, we get a complete list of texture resources. The one that I'm using in this case is CC0 Textures, available conveniently enough at cc0textures.com. I downloaded 2 texture sets from there, so if you want to get some textures to try along what we're about to do, that's where you can get them. So preamble out of the way, this here is ArmorPaint. And if you've used any kind of texture painting application, you got an idea of what we're dealing with here. You're using a PBR-based workflow to paint on a surface. Then you can export out the the textures you generate. Here you can see it can be done in layers. You can add new layers if you so wish. Those layers can have multiple different blend modes like you would normally see in a painting application such as Photoshop. Additionally, you can have it the layer operate only on a particular area. So you see he's split up into, belt, body, bomb, eyes, and so on. So if you wanted to have the layer just affecting one part of the body, you can do so. Coincidentally, you can also right-click and delete the layers. We're not going to really deal with layers too much in this example. This guy's pretty straightforward. Your middle mouse button pans around, and right mouse button is in orbit. You can zoom in and out using the scroll wheel. I do find the pivoting is slightly off for some reason. I'm not entirely certain why. You paint with materials. You can see them over here, and we can also have textures. So we can also use textures in a couple of ways. We can use a texture in a material. We'll look at materials in much more depth in just a second. Or we can also use them as decals or decals, depending on how you want to say that one. So you see here, we've got a couple of different modes. We got straightforward paintbrush mode. So with this brush selected with that paint mode, you see it straight up paints. I'm going to pick a different mode, and here, or we can go back to this guy that it was originally painted with and paint it this way. Now you can change the size of the brush you are working with here. Up here, UV scale changes the entire size of the texture that is being pasted, whereas radius changes the entire size of the brush itself. And yeah, so that's kind of it. You basically can just start painting. You're painting with the PBR workflow, and a lot of the magic actually comes in with creating the materials in the brushes, which we will get back to in just a second. So beyond that, we also have this guy right here. Now, for some reason, the mouse tips are very slow. This one's straightforward. It's an eraser, so you can get rid of whatever materials you just painted with. As you can see, performance is quite solid. This is on a 1080 on an i770 CPU. This one right here is for filling. So if you've got one texture and you want to fill your entire shape with it, you can do so. You could also, again, this is where layers could come in handy. So if we had a particular layers, we could come in here, we set the layer to just the belt, and then we do a fill, and you'll see just the belt part is being filled. Very useful in that regard. I'll go back to the main layer though here. So then we've got this guy. This is a decal. So if you select a texture or a texture material texture, we can basically start dropping that guy in as a texture. Now, once again, I mentioned earlier on, UV scale is used to determine the size. So if we wish to have, oh, so does radius. So if we used to have a much smaller guy, we can do so. We can just start basically pasting these guys all around the world. I don't know why. Maybe it's UV scale, it's not liking. There you go. So we can paste them as, so you probably want that as 1 most of the time. So 1, and then you get 1 to 1. So there is our guy. You can paint with a brush with decals. So that's that one. Let's go back to a straight fill. So we're working from scratch again. So here we've got, that was the decals. We can also paste text. You can write the text across the top here. This one here is, I have no idea, not the most intuitive. Come on, tooltip. Here we go. Oh, clone. So you can hit Alt, and you can pick an area on your mesh, like Sarah. So I hit Alt, and then down here, and we're cloning that source across. So Alt, and then there. So you basically, it's your straight up clone brush, like if you're used to working with Photoshop. This guy here is blur. Pretty straightforward too, so you want to start blurring the edges, you can do so. This one here is particles. Now, as far as I can tell, particle painting, this is a big part of Substance Painter, and it just seems to be sort of a beta feature in, so it doesn't line up well, and I can't define particle brushes, but this is one of those things that's coming soon. It's used for doing things like rain decay over time, etc. when you're using Substance Painter. It seems to be a bit of a placeholder at this point in time. Next up, we have texture baking, so you can bake out each of the individual maps by clicking. So if we wanted to bake out the ambient occlusion map, for example, we'd do so and just click, and there is the ambient occlusion map. It unfortunately replaces the selected map, so if we want to go back to that, we'll just head on back over here and fill again. Then we've got down here the color ID, and then finally the color picker. And that's kind of the basis of your tools. Now I'm going to go with various from scratch here. So we're going to a new project. You can start with either a cube or a sphere or a tessellated plane. We'll do it with a sphere. And boom. So here is our new project. Oh, and we crashed. All right. You kind of get used to that part a little bit too. So this is available just a second on my desktop. Let's load that guy back up again. So it is a 0.7 release. Do expect that kind of stuff. So let's try that again. Come here. We'll click sphere. Okay. And create. Okay. So there's our new project. Maximize that out. Now, the cool thing is you could have also gone ahead and you can import in textures, materials, and so on, but you can also bring in meshes. And meshes, you have the option of OBJ, FBX, and blend files. So a lot of the major formats you'd want to bring in, you can bring in your own textured meshes already or UV mesh. So here we are. We're in our basic world. You see here again, we got all the same tools we saw from before, and then a bunch of things we can pick how we're going to do our projection. We've got X-ray turned on. We can have symmetric painting if we so wish. But what I'm going to showcase now is under the material. So we got this plain white material. We're going to go ahead and create a new one. And then if you double click it, you actually bring up the editor. And this kind of goes into a little bit of what Substance Designer does. You're using a traditional shader graph to make your own materials. So where this is going to really shine, as I mentioned earlier on, let's bring in some material. So here we got a brick material. It's got a color channel displacement or height, normal map, and roughness. So we're just going to drag and drop that down into here. And then boom, there is our textures. Now, the one thing I do wish is you could get the file name when you hovered over it, because it does make it a little tricky to figure out which one you want to work with. But now that we got that, let's get rid of this guy. So that's our color channel. We don't want that. We'll just bring in each one of our textures, like so, into this graph. Pretty straightforward, drag and drop that we're working with. So that last guy you saw me bring in, it was a normal map. So I'll drop that normal map in here. Our bricks, we can drop in. So this is the displacement map, which maps best to height mapping over here. This one is your color map, which maps into your base color channel like so. And then finally, we've got our image map for roughness, and we'll drop that guy into the roughness map. Now, each one of these things has so we want to make a metallic map, we can do so. And you can see a preview of the guy we are working with over here. So now that we're ready to go ahead, we've created our simple shader here. I'm going to drop over here and do a fill. And there you saw it in the world. Now, if this isn't the detail you want, or you want more bricks or whatever, again, that's where UV scaling comes in nicely. So there you can see how UV scaling will take effect. Or we could do, instead of doing that, we can go back to our plain, color map here. We could make this guy just say blue. And we'll do a fill and we'll just replace it. Boom. There we have a blue, white, or whatever this guy is. So we have that definition going on right now. And then what we can do is switch back over to paint mode instead. Switch here to our bricks. We can, again, change our UV scale based off the size we want. And then we can just start painting bricks into our scene. And then you see kind of how you start putting things together to make things work. And at the same time, anything we're working with, we also got control over how it works. We got opacity control, and we got hardness control, and we can control how it is being done. So I can do screen dodging instead of additive, like so. So if you want to do just kind of like a texture kind of channel or an additive effect. And then we've got things like adding, overlay, soft light, linear light, difference, subtract, divide. Again, if you're used to working with something like Photoshop or Affinity or whatever, you're probably already familiar with what these what these modes actually apply. So if we want to do a darken, we could do so and then kind of get that effect there. And you basically go ahead and create multiple materials right here. We actually only really even just looked at the bare basics of it. So we got here our color channel. We'll drag that guy up. We'll do some work with our color channel instead. So let's say we've got our color channel over here and we want to say do a tint to it as well. So we can actually come up here and we can bring in another different option. So we've got, we have the input come in that we can use the UV map, or we can use based off geometry, etc. Or we can come in here and bring in another texture. We've got various different operations that we can work with on them. So for example, if we wanted to do a converter, we could just do a drop in here, RGB to black and white. Let's drop our pin into there and we'll replace our base color with this one. And now you will see, let me go back to mix mode. When I paint with this guy, it is now in black and white. So we can do these really complex node graphs, or we could also do something like, let's see, let's go. We'll do a mix. Things are never where I expect them to be. Okay, so mix RGB right here. And then so we got our image color comes in this way. There's the factor, the amount to mix between the two. And then the second one, we could just mix in a color. So we could mix in, give this guy a purple pinkish tint right there. And you see immediately the effect like so. Or we could have it come in from another source. So for example, I could come down here and I could say, all right, I want to make that guy a noise texture. It's right here. Drop that guy in there. So that will be my source in there. And now you see we're getting a different result as a result. So you've got a ton of control over how everything works. Again, if we want to have it metallic, we can make it having the metallic map kind of kick in immediately. Or if we want no metallicness, we can, again, invert that. So you've got a lot of control over pretty much all aspects of your guy. And here you can see we're not using everything. We've also got the option of emissive maps and subsurface maps. So let's show you an emissive map as an example. So here we go. We just created a new one. Once again, drop out the RGB channel. We will import. And another thing I really wish they had was the ability to define folders down here, because your textures get really unwieldy quick. So the other one I downloaded from CC0 Textures is this lava texture, which has an emissive map. So we're going to go ahead. We'll drop that in. All right. So that guy, that guy, that guy, normal map, and what's that? Roughness. All right. So roughness goes to roughness. So you see defining your own brushes is really, really simple. This guy is displacement, so that will be height. Sometimes you got to do a little bit of remapping. And of course, you don't have to define all of these. You just basically define the ones that you want. So if you want to just have a diffuse map, you can literally just map the color into the base color channel and you're done. And in this case, we have emissive. So this is going to give off light. We'll drop that in there. And yeah, so there we go. We'll do this with a fill so you can see. And then boom, we have lava. And if we want to play around with any of these things, like for example, if we wanted to change out the way that this guy looked, we could drop in a guy right here. So we do a brightness and contrast node. We could drop our color into there. Drop him out there instead, and then we can play with the contrast, and there you see the immediate result. So you can do some really powerful brushes very, very quick using this guy. We've got the scene mode for placing things in the scene. This one is pretty much as experimental as it gets. We've also got support for plugins. You'll see here, so you can bring in extra importers, themes, and so on. I find that this is an area where it gets a little crashy if you start playing around with plugins right now. You also got control over the themes, so you can switch between a dark and a light theme. My eyes are now bleeding, so let's switch back to dark. So you got pretty good settings here. You've got pen control here, so if you're using a stylus, you've got options there. You got control over the viewport. You can turn on bloom and subsurface. wait a minute, SSR, it's not coming to me. Plus you got control over the key maps in this particular case. Let's go on back to paint so we don't have those ugly arrows. And yeah, there is kind of the extent of it. If I use, I believe it's control and middle, or yeah, shift and middle mouse button. We've also got control over the environment. So we have an environment map that's flipping around here. And if you've got your own, you can actually come up here and import your own environment map there. You can also have it turn on or off. So if you want the environment map to be shown in the background, you do have that option. So there is the environment map that's sitting here. So I don't think I have one downloaded. Let me see if I actually have one. But this crashes for me. So I'm going to try and bring in another map. And this bombed out the last time I tried it, so I'm not sure. I have little expectations. Oh, there it goes. All right. So you can see there is the HDRI map or the environment map in the background, and you can see the effect that it's having on it. So once again, we can also head it. It's very distracting, but it brings in the lighting from your environment if you're not familiar with what those are all about. You've got control to switch between your cameras really quickly. You've got the orbit and perspective options right there. So you can switch between fly, rotate, and orbit, orthographic, and perspective. And yeah, that's kind of it. And then when you're done, you can basically just dump out the textures you created. I believe there's an option off directly right here. So you can export your textures out in various different resolutions, various different file formats, various being PNG and JPEG. You can configure presets. You've got control over the bit levels that go out and so on. You can also export out your models and have it ready to work. And then again, as I mentioned very briefly, and this was a new feature of this version, there is now support for live updating. So if you're working on textures directly in here, you can have them automatically update on the Unity or Unreal Engine side of things. Again, that's a preview feature, but yeah, so that's the nutshell version of it. You know, we're in a very simple version. Again, what you saw here, you can split down and you can have it go to very specific. So here I don't have the named portions like I did in the other case, but you do have the ability to fine tune how your layers work together, and you can again define how that layer. So if that layer is going to be a darkened layer, I could come in here and then we're painting specifically on that one particular layer, and you can merge them, you can duplicate them, you can create masks, white and black masks that will only affect, you know, or not affect based on how the mask is drawn. Yeah, that's kind of it. It's a kind of a capable, powerful, pretty easy to use program. The only thing I'm really finding, again, I wish there was a little bit better organization down here. I wish you could have file folders going on. I do find the mouse controls get a little wonky for panning around or orbiting around, but that's a very minor complaint. And other than that, it's just a couple of stability issues. Like you saw, we experienced one crash here, and you're going to expect that. Again, it's a 0.7 version of software, but again, this is kind of, right now in the world of algorithmics products, there's Substance Painter, and there's really kind of nothing else. There's kind of this functionality is built to a degree into content creation solutions like Blender, but for creating PBR-based textures, there's really ArmorPaint and Bridge from what their face just got purchased by Epic Games. Quixel Bridge is slowly turning into more of a, or sorry, Quixel Mixer is turning more into a direct competitor to this kind of product too. But that's it. There's not a lot in this particular space, and this is a $16, or actually, again, if you are interested, a completely free if you build it yourself, and I do have that video up. So if you want to build ArmorPaint yourself, the instructions are here. It'll take you all of like 20 minutes tops to do so. So, you know, when you give it the perspective of what it is and where it is in its development cycle, this will actually already do a lot of what people want from a program like Substance Painter. It's nowhere near feature parity, but it might already be under the category of good enough. And for like that very low price of, it's either 13 or 16 euro, or again, free if you build it yourself, that's pretty damn impressive. So anyways, that is hands-on with ArmorPaint. And again, ArmorPaint 0.7 was just released. Hopefully you guys found that useful. Are you using ArmorPaint now? Or I guess more importantly, are you using Substance Painter? And what's missing that would make you not convert over? Or do you just not care that, you know, Adobe is the new overlord over there? Because, you know, that's perfectly valid opinion as well. All right, let me know what you think. Comments down below, and I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.